Text boxes are the voice of your game. Today, we aren't just putting text on a screen, we're building a flexible system that handles the conversation for you. Welcome back to Godot Dev Checkpoint. Today, we're tackling one of the most requested features, the dialogue system. We need a way to freeze the action, show a clean UI at the bottom of the screen, and cycle through lines of text. Let's build the foundation. First thing we need is a canvas layer. So in our other node, we're going to search for a canvas layer. Right here. Create. We're going to rename this to Dialog Manager. Dialog Manager. And we need a child node. It's going to be Control. Right there. And rename this to Dialog Box. And we're going to set this anchor preset in the top here to bottom wide. And the inspector. Our layout, custom minimum sizing, Y to 200. Now, a visible box is not very helpful. So let's add a background with the text label. Right-click the dialog box, add child node, color rect. We're going to change the color of that to black and the transparency down to 0.5 in the linear section here. Now we're half transparency. We also want to go full rect in the anchor. There we go. Now in the dialog box, right click, add child node, label. Change label to dialog text. And the anchor to be full rect. Put in some sample text here. This is the dialog text. What we're going to do here, label settings, new label settings, font size, put up to 32. We're also going to do is go down to auto wrap mode. We're going to turn it to word smart. So our long paragraphs will wrap properly. So in Godot, when we pause the game, everything pauses, including this dialog manager. So in order to cycle through the text, we need to go to our dialog manager, go to our process, mode, always. Now setting this to always ensures that even when get tree pause is true, the script keeps running so we can actually press through the dialog. All right, now the bare minimum UI is done. Let's make it think a bit. We need a script that holds our lines of text and knows which line we are currently reading. So we're going to attach a script to the root dialog manager, attach script. And we're going to go to a folder, new folder, scripts, save, open, create. We're going to delete the boilerplate code. What we're going to do here is we're going to have two references to our dialog box. Control drop, and then our dialog text, control drop. And a few variables here. So we need our dialog lines, which are going to contain an array, a string, and then initialize it as empty. Then we're going to do our current line index and keep track of where we are. Start at 0. Then we need to say if the dialog box, if dialog active bool is false to start it out with. Then we need a ready function. So function ready, got an autocomplete, enter down. What we need to do is make our dialog box visible, just so during this tutorial, it's automatically apparent. Then save that script and the scene in a new folder called scenes. Save. Now we need 3 core functions, one to open the box, one to advance the next line, and one to close it all down. We'll start with the start dialog. So our new function, start dialog. And that's going to take in some lines, which is going to be the array. It's going to be string array. And then colon and down. And first we're going to pause the game so the player can't move. You do that by getting the tree and just calling pause to make it true. And not that, whatever that was. Enter down. Then we're going to go into our dialog lines. These are going to be lines. That's what we're taking in. And then we need to go to our current line index, which is 0. And we're going to make sure the dialog is active. Turn that to true. Then we need to make the dialog box actually visible, so we can see it when you start talking to an NPC or something. And then we're going to check the text in the inspector, dialog text.text, and make that equal to our dialog lines, and then the current line index we want to show. All right, let's save that. Enter down a couple times. Then we check for the input. So if the player has input and wants to advance the text, so function input event. And first we need to check if the dialog is even active. So if it's active, if it's not active, return. But if it is active, then we're going to advance the actual dialog. So we're going to check for the is action pressed for now. It's just going to be the UI accept. That's the default Godot action, which will be enter or spacebar. And then we're going to write a new function called advanced dialog. We enter down a couple times and let's write that function, advanced dialog. Okay. So this one we just need to check if the current line index there is less than the lines we have left. So the size of the array minus 1 because it's exclusive. And then we need current line index. We're going to advance it by 1. So the next line. And we're going to change the text to the text box to actually show that line. So the current line index. There we go. Perfect. I'll make this a little bigger. There we go. So there's that. Else, what we need to do, if we're done with the actual dialogue for the NPC or wherever, we want to unpause the game when done. And we do that just by saying the opposite of what we did earlier. Get tree paused is false. Great. And last but not least, in this one, we need to say is the dialogue active? No, because we just closed it. And we need to hide the box. So dialog box visible is false. So now we have the core foundation. All you have to do is when you approach an NPC, you need to set up a call to this dialog manager to start the dialogue. And we can do it in our ready, so we can see it right when we start the game. So start dialogue. And we'll just put a couple lines in here. So do an array here, start dialogue. What we're going to do, we'll just do freezing the game, 1, 2, 3. And then we can do after that, comma, down, enter over a bit, make another line, and then say, and unfreezing it now. There we go. So I start the game, we're going to start the dialogue, freeze the game. I'm going to advance the dialogue after we press our dialogue UI accept. And then I'll show the unfreezing. Then we press it again. We won't have any lines left. So then we'll be able to close the dialog box and unfreeze the game. All right, let's go ahead and get a save. And then we're going to run the current scene. Check it out. So the game is frozen right now. And then if I press spacebar or enter, and I'm unfreezing it now, so my dialog box still works even though it's paused. And then if I press it again, now the dialog box closes. And there we go. We have a UI that scales to the screen and a script that cycles through an array of text strings. It's clean, simple, and ready to be connected to your NPCs. To expand this, we can create an NPC that actually calls this function so we aren't just talking to ourselves in code. Let me know in the comments if that's something you're interested in. I'm Spaghetti Syntax, and remember, always stay curious, and I'll see you at the next checkpoint.